I think good afternoon to each and everyone. I think first of all, thanks to our speakers for taking time, I think in the current situation. And since they are about to start their college, so I'm sure they're really busy with their enrollment and selecting the subjects and whatnot. Thanks for taking time and I think giving us time. And also thanks for all the participants who are here to, let's see how useful this webinar is. So I think this is our, so we are going to, just a brief introduction. So I'm Rajdeep. So I'm a graduate from BITS Pilani, and I graduated in 2015. Post that, I started this company called ReWiser, where we largely cater to test prep segment. We do SAT, ACT, subject SATs and APs. And we have been running it for last 4.5 years. And here are our speakers. So I'll pass on the stage to the 3 speakers that we have today. We are going to have these talks as like a series. So for, let's say, today's series, we have these 3 students who are here with us. And on 8th and 9th, we will have different speakers. So for you folks, if you wish to join, you could also join on 8th and 9th again, because the content is going, the questions are going to be more or less same, but the speakers would be different. And the objective of this entire webinar is to make sure that if we can pass on some information based on their own journey about what all have they done in the last 4 years to get to the top colleges, which a lot of us dream to get into, right? So with that, I would probably request our speakers to start with the introduction, and I'll pass it on to probably Dia first.
Hi everyone, I'm Dia Sinha. I graduated from National Public School in Ranagar this year. I will be attending UC Berkeley in 2020. I applied to 20 colleges totally, and I got into 13 of them, and I got rejected by 7 of them. So yeah, that's a bit about me. Sanjana, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Sanjana. I graduated from National Public School HSR Layout this year, and I'll be attending UCLA. I applied to 16 universities, and I got rejected from 2. The universities that I got accepted from were all University of California schools, which is Los Angeles, Berkeley, San Diego, Irvine, etc. Claremont McKenna College, Tufts University, Emory University, Tulane University with a full tuition scholarship, Northeastern University, University of Washington, Seattle, Brandeis University, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, which is YUC, and overall in scholarships across my 4 years of college for all universities, I got a total of $600,000 in scholarships. I'll pass it on to Raghav.
Hello everyone, I'm Raghav Muthukumar and I'm from NPS Koramangala. Oh wait, no, I'm from NPS Indranagar. I will be attending Brown University as an incoming freshman this Jan, and I plan on majoring in economics or computer science. I applied to about 20 colleges, but only 15 of them were in the US. I applied to 5 colleges in the UK through the UCAS portal. So if you guys have any doubts regarding that as well, you can get to me after this session. Out of the 15 colleges in US, I was accepted in about 7 or 8 colleges. I was waitlisted in 4 or 5, and I was rejected by the rest. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks for the introduction, guys. Before we start, so we have 3 major segments in which we have divided the question categories. The first category is the test prep segment, where I will be asking questions to our panelists about SAT, ACT, subject SATs, AP journeys. The second is going to be about their academics and the profile building, the word that you guys hear a lot more. So I think we will try and clear some misconceptions there. And the third will be the colleges, right? So the questions related to the college applications, the essays, and so on and so forth. That's how the entire webinar is structured. Having said that, let's start with the first segment. I think we'll start with the test prep segment first. And I think generally a lot of you folks will have this question saying, hey, when should I start preparing for my SAT, ACT? What is the right time for starting my prep, right? And with this question, I'll first pass it on to Raghav to explain his journey.
Thank you, sir. So this whole concept of when do I start preparing for my SAT or ACT or any standardized test for that matter is actually a very important question. And I would go as far to say that it's as important as actually preparing for the exam. because there are only certain windows when you can take these tests, and you need to plan your application process according to these windows. So I joined ReWiser about around the July of 11th grade, and I still felt that was a little too late. Ideally, I feel that students, especially, so I studied CBSE, right? And I think I can say this for all students who are studying CBSE. I feel that the ideal time that you should, start preparing a timeline to tackle these tests would be about halfway through your 10th grade itself, right? So if you guys are in 10th, you guys should start, figuring out when you're planning to take these tests and when you should start preparing. Because by the time you reach 12th grade, you would be swamped with the number of essays you'd have to write. So you won't really have, and your 12th grade boards, which you would have to study for. So you wouldn't have as much time to prepare for these standardized tests. So you should ideally try and get everything finished by 11th grade. But it's not to say that if you haven't taken these tests, you can still take them in 12th. But ideally, you should try to get them done before your 11th grade elapses. So if you're in 9th grade or 10th grade, you should sort of start looking at a timeline to take these tests as soon as you can and start preparing for them. But if you have already reached 12th grade, then you can still take these tests. But ideally, you should start preparing around halfway through 10th. Yeah, so I think now we can move on to Dia.
So I personally started preparing for my standardized tests in the summer of 10th to 11th transition. I think I agree with Raghav that it was a little too late. Another thing that I would like to talk about is I did both the SAT and the ACT, but I knew the ACT wasn't the test for me before doing it. So I'd written diagnostic tests at ReWiser for both ACT and SAT. And even though I knew that ACT wasn't for me, I still took it, which I think you shouldn't do. Focus on one test, which is your strong point. And to know which is your strong point, you should ideally start earlier, as Raghav said, in the middle of 10th grade. Take a few diagnostics, figure out which one is the best for you, and go ahead with that test. Don't hesitate to take it multiple times if you need to, but also don't waste too much time taking it. Beyond a certain point, I think you should just stop with standardized tests, so maybe 3 attempts. So start early. If you are in the 11th grade, don't panic. You still have time to finish your standardized tests. But if you're in the 9th or 10th, focus on starting your preparation now itself. Let's move on to Sanjana.
Just like Raghav and Dia, I also started preparing for my SAT and ACT in the summer between my 10th to 11th grade when I joined ReWiser. Same. I think it was a little bit too late. I think you should start a little earlier on and at least plan it out, because when you come to 12th grade, you have a lot of your college essays. For most of the Indian students, you have your board exams, etc. going on. And so when you're preparing for these, if you have your SAT or ACT prep, which is going on simultaneously, you're not able to put in enough amount of effort into either one of them. So it's very important. I think in 11th grade, you should finish off your SAT, ACT as well. I think every person's timeline is different. So while some individuals may require more time to finish preparing for their SAT, ACT, some individuals might do the same thing maybe in 2 to 3 months. So don't compare your timeline to somebody else's. Like when you start off from your 11th grade summer, like how we did, for example, some individuals may have taken 6 months to finish the same thing. Some people just took 2 months to do. So don't rush yourself into it. Take your time. Just like Dia said, I also took both the SAT as well as ACT. It always helps to, in the starting, figure out which is the best test for you, because I actually figured out that ACT was a better test for me than the SAT was. And so if I had figured this out earlier, I would have been able to put more effort and more time into studying for the ACT itself. So I would say figure out which test is the perfect one for you. And also when it comes to tips for SAT, SAT per se, there are certain subject areas. So for instance, I knew that I was really good at math, but I was not so good at the English portion. So try to make sure that you're focusing on that particular portion, especially. So if you know, for me, I was weak in English. So I made sure that even when I came to ReWiser, I would sit and I would take the English books and spend more and more time on it, so that I would make up for that, a more or less equivalent score in English as well. But yeah, I think start off as early as you can, plan it out well. And time management is key over here, so that it doesn't go over to your 12th grade and interfere with anything else that's going on.
Thanks, guys. Can you quickly give out your scores as well, if you guys don't mind, and the number of attempts that you took just for our audience? Raghav, again, you can start your SAT scores.
So
SAT or ACT.
I took the ACT and I took it 3 times, and my section-wise score was I got a 35 in English, 35 in math, 33 in reading, and a 36 in science.
Right. So his overall score is 35 out of 36. That's the score which he applied, right? Right, Raghav? Yeah. Dia?
So I took the SAT twice and I submitted a score of 1480. Yeah, but the SAT also super scores. So if I submitted a super score to a school, I submitted a 780 in math and a 710 in English out of 800 each.
Right.
I gave the SAT twice, and I got a 1500 like as a maximum score. And then ACT I gave, and I gave the ACT only once, and I got a 33.
Right. Great. Thanks, guys. Let's move on to the next question. Again, on the test prep segment itself, when should one start preparing for subject SAT? I think that probably would be one question. And is there any thought behind which subject SATs to write when you guys are deciding, is it related to your major? How did you decide and come up with saying, hey, I should be doing math subject SAT, or I should be doing physics, or I should be doing bio? So I think that would probably be the next question. And let's start with Sanjana this time.
Sure. I think it's very important before you start preparing for your subject SAT that you figure out which ones you need to take. When you look up, firstly, you need to understand like what field of interest that you have, what is your academic inclination, and on that basis, you would have searched up a certain XYZ number of colleges. Now, colleges have certain requirements. For example, for some majors, such as molecular biology, some schools require us to take a biology as well as a math subject SAT, without which we're not able to apply over there. So try to have a good understanding of which exact subject SATs that you have to take. Largely, it's towards your academic inclination itself. I think a really good time to take your subject SAT is during your 11th grade. Again, don't let it move over to your 12th grade because you already have so many things going on and you don't want it to hinder in your college application process per se. So take it in your 11th grade. And because at this point of time, you would have had some amount of, you would have learned some amount of material about the subject, about whatever is covered in the subject SAT within your schools, etc. as well. So I think that's the perfect time to start. But yeah, try to have a clarity so that you don't end up taking too many subject SATs that you do not even require. I'll pass it on to Dia.
Yeah, so for the subject SATs, I took them in 11th grade too, and I agree with Sanjana that you should finish it off in the 11th grade. Another thing I would like to talk about is that most colleges require 2 subject SATs, so make sure you take 2 of them. If you want to take more, that's fine, but don't force yourself to do that. I think you should give a good preparation time for the subject SATs because often we focus too much on only the SATs and neglect the subject SATs. So give yourself a good timeline to prepare for all the tests. Plan it out well. As Sanjana said, time management is key. So yeah, that's about it. Raghav, you can go next.
Thank you, Dia. So I completely agree with Dia and Sanjana in the fact that they say get your subject SATs out of the way as soon as possible. But I would be lying if I said that I did that. I wrote my subject ACTs in the October of 12th, and I applied early decision to a college, and my scores came 2 days before the deadline to submit my application. So I was in a very precarious situation. So I would strongly advise that you get your test scores out of the way before July or August of your 12th grade. Like that should be the latest you take your tests. Because there are friends that I have who haven't been able to send their subject SATs for early decisions and early actions to colleges because they didn't get the windows to write these tests. So I think when you're applying to colleges in the US, I think like Sanjana and Dia reiterated, time management is probably one of the most important tools that you have, and you have to use it to the fullest. And also, I wouldn't advise taking more than 2 subject SATs because schools really do not look at more than 2 subject SATs. They require a minimum of 2, but after that, it's sort of just, it tapers out, like the value that an additional subject SAT brings to your portfolio reduces by an exponential amount. So if you choose 2 subjects that you're really passionate about, which would look good in your application, and a subject that you plan on majoring in. You go ahead and take your 2 subject SATs and that in those subjects, and then you leave it at that. So yeah.
Just to add, I think since Raghav mentioned something called ED and EA, I'm sure there are a lot of people who may not be aware of it. We'll just quickly give a one-liner explanation. Raghav, if you can quickly explain what ED is and what EAs are.
Yeah,
not
so
going
I would,
through in detail. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So you can apply to US colleges in different ways, right? So there are 2 windows to apply to these colleges, and one is called the early round and one is called the regular round. So the early round sort of gets over by the end of October, and then the regular pool to apply happens in the end of December is when the deadline is. And when you're applying early, there are 2 ways you can apply. One is early action and one is early decision. If you decide to apply through early decision, you can apply to only one college. And if you get into that college, you have to go to that college. But if you apply in early action, they get your portfolio faster and they get more time to look at it, but it's not binding. You do not have to go to that college. So early decision sort of increases your acceptance chances by a significant amount, and so does early action. But the problem is you'll have to finish all your work and resume building 2 months in advance to the rest of the applicant pool.
Thanks. If you guys have any question, we will be happy to take it up in the Q&A session. With that, let's move on to the next question. And I think this question might require some background information. So I think the next question would be about, should one write APs? AP is nothing but the advanced placement courses. Just to give a brief introduction about the advanced placement courses. So these are basically college level courses, right? So what happens, because of whatever reason, all the 3 panelists are from CBSE background. And for the CBSE background, we don't get any credits for the courses that we are doing in our 12th grade. What happens if you are from an IB background and if you are doing an IB HL for a subject, you get credits for the course that you have done while you are in grade 11th and 12th. And you can skip the same course when you go to the college, right? So for us, I think the way we look at it, we write advanced placement courses for 3 reasons. A, you could write it because you get to skip the course when you are in college. B, you write it because obviously when you're skipping a course, that means you're saving cost. So cost is another factor people write it. The third reason why people write is to strengthen their application, which shows that you have gone extra mile to do something extra beyond your regular college or regular school curriculum. So I think these are the main 3 reasons because of which people write advanced placement courses. These are the courses which happens only once a year, which is in May of every year. And these are again not must to do and not mandatory, but it definitely holds some value. And I think we will see from, and we'll seek the expert opinion on from these 3 folks saying, have they done the advanced placement courses? If yes, in what subjects? And what is their thought about, should one write it or should we not write it, right? So I will, let's say, start with Raghav again.
Thank you, sir. So I took 3 advanced placement tests in the summer between 11th to 12th, and I spent about 2-3 months studying for these tests. I took 3 tests in I took a test in world history. I took one in physics mechanics with calculus, and I took one called calculus BC. And these tests do require a lot more preparation than people think. They are a little difficult tests because, as Rajdeep said, they are college level tests. So many people have different opinions about these AP tests. Some people do not take them. Some people say that it does not add value to your portfolio because many colleges do not look at these scores. But I feel that if you do take AP tests, what you're telling your admissions officer is you've gone beyond your school curriculum to take tests in certain subjects that your school does not provide you with. And it shows the admissions officer that you have initiative, that you're intellectually curious, and you've put in work outside your school to take these tests in different subjects, right? And it sort of reiterates passions that you have in other subjects that your school does not provide you. And it sort of, I feel that it sort of does boost your application, and it gives you a certain edge over students who don't have these tests in their portfolio. Yeah, over to Dia.
Okay, so I do agree with Raghav when he says that they do have some weightage. However, I just want to say this, that 11th grade gets hard in school. So please do not waste time studying for an AP when it's not a mandatory requirement instead of studying for school. If you're not able to handle school coursework, please just leave the APs. You can take them even after your 12th grade gets over. So don't worry about it. For me personally, I am going to be studying pre-medicine, and my college doesn't even accept APs. And I took 2 APs. So I feel like that was a waste of time for me. But if you're a student who can handle both aspects of your academics, please go ahead and take it. Otherwise, just skip it until your 12th gets over. Over to Sanjana.
So I agree with Dia actually. If you guys have your schoolwork which is present, etc., please focus on that more than your APs, because when it comes to the weightage in terms of college application, they will give more weightage and more focus on your school level academics than they will to your APs. I differ from Raghav in the fact that I don't think APs actually add that much weightage, but I do think they may add like a small percentage. I don't think it's like an exponential difference which is present, because most of the times, like for CBSE students, etc., the colleges just want to see how much you've done with the resources that you had present. But that being said, I think after you get your college acceptances, once you know what classes, etc., you would have for your particular major, I think it makes a lot of sense to take APs. So for instance, in the summer, which is present for CBSE students, this is after your graduation takes place, after your board exams in the summer, when there are APs which are present, please definitely take them, because for context, like I'm a molecular cell and developmental biology and business economics major at UCLA, and a lot of classes that are present for me, they can be satisfied by APs. So a lot of students who are coming in who have already taken these XYZ number of APs do not need to take the same classes at the college. And like Rajdeep sir said, it has a cost benefit because it allows people to graduate earlier. The other benefit is that when you take this after you graduated, not only have you completed a significant amount of your coursework, like through your school, so you have a good background information and knowledge about that particular subject from the get-go already. So that gives you kind of a level up instead of in your previous years actually having to like slog and learn that certain amount of context from before, like the content from before. So yeah, I would definitely recommend taking APs, but I would say take them after you get accepted into your colleges and before your semester actually starts.
Thanks, guys. With this, I will probably move. Okay, sorry. Just to add to this AP as well, you guys would have figured out there are different opinions among the 3 speakers itself, and I would agree with all 3 of them. I think there is no right and wrong answer here. If I have to give you an advice, my suggestion would be your topmost priority should be your academics. Your academics has to be best. If that's already there, then you move on to SAT. Try and get perfect, or I mean, whatever best score you can in your SAT. Then the 2 subject SATs, and then comes the APs, right? That's the order of priority in which I would recommend to look at. If the first 3 are in place, then do the 4th one. If the first 2 are in place, do the 3rd one first. I mean, just follow the same order. And as Sanjana rightly said, that even if in case you're not able to do APs for your application, you can always do it for the other 2 benefits, for finishing your college early and for the cost, even after your 12th grade, right? The May, right now, that's when Sanjana wrote her AP. So you guys can also write it after your 12th grade as well, right? So that's, I think, just to add to the point which these guys have said. Let me move on to the next place where we are going to talk about the college admissions and the process through it. And I will start with a very general question that I get from a lot of parents, which says, hey, I'm not a US citizen, or my child is not a US citizen rather. Do I stand a chance to get into top college? Does it affect the scholarship that I get when I'm applying to these colleges? Should I even look at these colleges, or should I just look at India as an option because the student is not a US candidate? I will start this question specifically with Raghav, because Raghav is not a US citizen out of the 3 panelists here. So I'll start with Raghav here.
Thank you, sir. So as Rajdeep sir said, I am not a US citizen. I hold an Indian passport, and it does affect your college admissions in certain ways, but it's not as drastic as whether you will get an admission or not, right? So what US colleges try to do is they try to maintain a very diverse student body. They like to have a lot of international students, and they like to have a lot of students from US itself. So now if you are a US citizen, you are considered an applicant to the college from US. Although you are considered along with the international students in their quota system, so to say, you will fall under US citizens. But if you hold an Indian passport, you will come under the international student quota. So out of the three of us, I think Dia and Sanjana would come under the US citizen quota, and I would come under the international student quota. And different colleges have different weightage in how as to how many students they want in each quota, and so it would affect your admissions in that way. But it's not like it is exponentially difficult to enter as a US citizen or an Indian citizen, because at the end of the day, you are competing with the same people going from here. So they would consider my application with Dia and Sanjana's application. The only thing is, when we go there, we would fill different quotas. But in terms of applying for aid, it is a lot harder as an international student to get aid from some of these colleges, because they prefer to give aid to their own citizens. So I didn't get any aid. So yeah, over to Dia.
Okay, so this is a really good question. I think that applying to college as an international student, you need to keep in mind the subject that you plan to study. So for example, I applied for pre-medicine, as I've mentioned before, and they prefer having US citizens for pre-medicine over international students, because their medical schools accept mostly American students. So that is one thing to keep in mind. About your chances of getting in, I think either way is just put forth your best application, do your best, and you'll definitely get into a good college, right? You'll get in somewhere regardless of whether you're a US citizen or if you're an international citizen. So just do your best and leave it to the hands of the admissions officers to take you. Over to Sanjana.
I actually agree with Dia in the fact that you should give your best regardless of whether you're an international applicant or you're a US citizen, because you would end up at what would be the perfect place for you. That being said, so I think, like Raghav mentioned, me and Dia are considered as US citizens, as in we are considered not as in the international pool. It only matters in the case of percentages, but that's literally it. So please put in your 100% regardless of what happens. In terms of scholarships, I would say this though, whenever you're going through your college list, research properly what scholarships they offer, and some scholarships are exclusively just for individuals who do early applications, etc. So please keep that in mind when you're applying to these colleges. Some have earlier deadlines. Some universities have deadlines starting from December 1st for scholarships, and their actual admissions deadline will be maybe like December 30th or January 1st, etc. So just take that all into account in terms of scholarships. Again, financial aid, getting it as international citizens or international students is very difficult, because US citizens do prefer to give that to that financial aid to individuals who reside within the US itself.
Thanks, guys. I'll move on to the next question. And again, this is a very general question. I don't know which subject do I want to study in college. So will that affect my admission? How do I go about it when I'm filling my application? So some kids or some parents might have this question when the kid is in grade 9th, grade 10th, as opposed to there are kids who will have this question even when they are grade 12th and filling up their application. So how do you guys tackle this problem? And were you very clear from day one in terms of which major do you want to do, or was there ups and downs and changes in your journey in terms of you started from X and moved to Y and then to Z? So I think I will start with Sanjana in this case.
I think if you are at this moment not completely sure about what subject that you're inclined towards or what major you want, that is completely okay. Please do not panic. We all have been at that particular position. At this point, so if you don't have a clear understanding of what you like, try to look for a university that offers a lot of flexibility. Why I'm saying this is because in some colleges where that particular major is especially competitive to get, they have certain restrictions or barriers imposed on it. For instance, in UCLA and our engineering college, which is present, individuals cannot get accepted into an engineering college or move out of it for the first 1 year that you are in our particular college, because it is very, very competitive. So when you're applying to these colleges, even if you don't have a definitive idea of what academic interest you have, please make sure that you're not applying for any one of these particular majors that have that restriction barrier which is present on them. That being said, when you're applying to colleges, I think it's best to apply under a specific major. And I'll explain that. When you apply within a specific major, say you have like a whole portfolio, etc., which is built around it, the colleges will look at you as a student of that particular major itself. For instance, if I apply to a university with a physics major in mind and apply for physics and have a really good like research background, I've done projects, etc., on it, the likelihood of me getting accepted just simply because of my physics background is higher. But if I apply as an undeclared major to this particular university, then suddenly I'm considered as a student of that particular college. I'm seen in a broad perspective and not for that particular major per se, right? So instead of applying for physics, if now I've applied to the College of Letters and Science, they'll be looking at my profile in comparison to everybody else across all the different majors to see which particular, like even if I do take a particular major, will I be good enough for that college itself as a whole? So I would say always pick a major, even if you're not definitive and you think, and it's a very flexible school, like liberal arts schools are generally very flexible. Pick a major which suits your profile the best, and it doesn't have to be what you what you will take up in the future and what you will take up as a career. If it's a very flexible school, just put something that your profile really stands strong in that particular thing, so your chances of admission, etc., increases as well. But I think if you apply as undeclared, you are at a little bit of a disadvantage. So keep that in mind. On to Raghav.
Thank you, Sanjana. So I had a lot of confusion while applying. Even in 11th, I didn't know whether I wanted to take science or commerce, and that led to a lot of confusion at home. And I know that leads to a lot of confusion in a lot of other families' houses as well, because students don't know whether they want to take science or commerce. They saw suits and they suddenly want to do law. And there's a lot of, confusion with students as to what major they wanted to apply for. Like what I wanted to pursue in college continuously changed over the last 2 years. I wanted to do computer science, then I wanted to do physics, then I wanted to do law, then I wanted to do investment banking, then I wanted to do economics. And at the time of applying, I wanted to do economics, so I applied for economics. But that being said, it is okay to not know what you want to do in college, right? And this boils down to one thing, right? Which colleges you are applying to. There are certain colleges where certain majors, like Sanjana said, are highly competitive, right? And these majors would be very hard to transfer into, and they're called impacted majors. Like in some of the UC schools, it is very hard to transfer into computer science or engineering, like Sanjana said, because the competition is so high. Whereas if you apply to the liberal arts schools or the Ivy schools, they do not really let you apply for a major as such. They look at your portfolio as a whole, and you come and declare your major in your second year. So you do not declare your major until then. So that is an advantage of the liberal arts education. You do not apply for a major, you apply to a school, and the school sort of gives you a few more years to explore a lot of subjects and then finally decide what you want to do. So one of the main reasons why I wanted to attend Brown was because Brown has a curriculum called the Open Curriculum, where you design your own major. So they give you a few years to see all the subjects that you think you might want to pursue. You can test the waters, and if you want, you can go ahead with the subject that you like and pursue it. And that is one of the main advantages that US education has over Indian education. In India, you apply for a particular major and you're stuck with that major throughout the course of your undergraduate studies. But in US, they sort of encourage students to try different things and then choose the major. So it is all right for students to be confused and not know what they want to do. But like Sanjana said, do not apply saying your major is undecided. Say, I like this subject and I plan on doing this subject, and talk about your passions in a subject. Don't say that I don't know what to do, please let me in. Say, I like this, 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 and this. I don't know which I like the most. I would like to come to your college and find out. Yeah, over to Dia.
Okay, so I'll talk about this question a little differently. I think that there are two types of students, and you can go two ways about how you apply to colleges with a subject. So for me personally, I was very set on doing biology. So I built my whole profile showing that, bio is my passion and I love it and I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. So that's how I built my college application. However, there are students who don't know what they want to do, and that is completely okay. You have to basically just demonstrate your interest in a subject. So you don't have to say that, okay, this is what I want to do with my life. You have to say, I like this subject. So if you like math, say, I really like math, and I really might want to try this out at your college, as Raghav said. So I agree when they say don't apply undecided. Apply with some major, apply with probably your favorite subject, and just make sure you tell the colleges that, I'm open to try new things, and I have a passion for this subject. Demonstrate passion, demonstrate that you will act on your passion. And I think that's important. So even if you don't know your subject, that's completely okay. Do not panic about it. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Thanks, guys. I think we have less time, but let's try and quickly answer. I have 3 more questions. Let's try and quickly answer those. Maybe we may not go to each one of you. I think let's start with 2 folks, right? I think my next question would be, should one give preference to the college ranking? I think that's a lot of hype. I don't know if it's, I think if it's good pleasure to the child or to the relatives, but there is definitely pleasure to the college ranking. Should we go with the preference to college ranking, or should we decide the major, and based on the major, you should decide which college you want to go to? Or should the cost/scholarship should be a parameter or a factor in deciding your college, right? So in these 3 things, what should be your preference? And in your individual cases, what have you decided to go ahead with? And I will, let's say again, start with Dia.
Okay, so in my opinion, there are a lot of factors that affect where you go to college. So you do see the overall ranking of the college. You do see the major ranking of the college. You do see the cost, because it's expensive to study in the US. So you do see the cost. You do see scholarships. And in a lot of cases, you do also factor in location. Location for me was not weather or climate based. It was more about where I'll have more internship opportunities. So for example, my college is right next to the Silicon Valley. So that was pretty helpful. So I think you need to factor in all of these things before making a decision. One thing I have noticed is that usually the top ranked colleges, overall ranked colleges, also have top ranked programs in it. So they do cover it. So, if you say there is, my college is ranked number 1 and there's another college which is ranked number 5, don't just differentiate based on those 5 ranks. It doesn't make that much of a difference. You'll get the same good education in either of the places. So decide it based on multiple factors and don't narrow it down only to one, and see which is the best school for you and which fits your personality the most. Yeah, so over to Sanjana.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there are a lot of factors that come into play when you're talking about which college is the perfect fit for you. And some of these factors could mean things like community, the environment which you're present in, the location, security, housing. It comes down to anything, and the most random things can appeal to you. When you're shortlisting your colleges also, you need to recognize what your deal breaker factors are. For some individuals, this could mean cost of attendance, right? That could be a deal breaker factor for you. I think overall ranking honestly does not really matter, because there is a different environment and place that each individual thrives in. And that is not based on any one particular number. Additionally, I would say that when you're talking about overall rankings, right? Firstly, there are different websites which give different rankings online. So you need to be very cautious of what you are really following, right? And the second thing is, these overall rankings which are present are on the basis of multiple things, such as what does the graduate school look like? What does the undergraduate school look like? Who are the number of Nobel laureates who are present in this particular school, and so on and so forth. So they may not factor into or take into account all the different factors that may affect you as an individual, which enables you to thrive in that particular environment. So please don't look at the overall ranking of a particular university when you're deciding where to go. I personally didn't. I think, and when I'm talking about ranking, I think the only ranking, if at all matters, it's a ranking of your major. Because it gives you some sort of a standpoint or comparison of which college would be a little better in that particular major and that particular subject than some other college would be. That being said, if your major, the difference between the colleges ranking for major is just 10 or less, doesn't really make a difference. Go by your own choice, community, location, etc. Everything, take it into account. But if the ranking difference between for majors between the colleges is 10 to 15 or more, that's something you should seriously consider, because that means that there is a certain like differentiating factor which does exist. That said, I think wherever you go, you're going to get a good college experience. I think I personally believe that college is what you make out of it, and the college shouldn't define you. And so even if you study at a top university, you can end up at a place with somebody else who maybe went to a very low ranked university. So it's how much effort you put in and hard work you put in. Don't let a number of the overall ranking of the college define that or define who you are. So take into account all the factors that affect you. You want to be happy and you want to thrive at this particular place, right? So keep that as your first and primary priority at all points of time. I'll pass it on to Raghav.
Yeah, I think this has been summed up very well by Diya and Sanjana. I would just like to add a few things, right? Firstly, some of these ranking websites are completely bogus. There is a lot of money involved where colleges pay these sites to give them a high ranking, and it's all just a promotion. So there are actually very few sites that actually tell you the ranking realistically. And Diya, Sanjana, or I can like put it in the chat later on. But like Sanjana said, you're going to be in this college for the next 4 years of your life away from your family. You should be able to see yourself living there with a healthy community of students and actually be in an environment that helps you study. You're going there to learn and live. So you should be able to see yourself living there the next 4 years, doing the things that you like. So I think the most important thing when you choose a college is to see if the college fits your lifestyle and your values and your views. So I think that is the most important thing, whether the college fits you, not just prestige or ranking.
Thanks, guys. I think that's summed up really, really well. But yes, I guess I think that if I have to summarize, it's more about don't differentiate between rank 2 and rank 6, rank 10. You can differentiate between rank 2 and rank 50. I mean, that's a differentiating factor then. But yeah, otherwise there are a lot of other factors. There is community that you're going to, there is safety concerns, there is if you have family around over there, right? So there are multiple factors that come into place. So I think you should consider all of those and then probably decide based on the pros and cons for the location, right? I'll quickly move on to the next question. When do I start writing my essay, and how important are they in your entire college application process? And this time probably let's start with Sanjana.
Your essays form one of the most important things which are present in your college application process, because this is a chance for you to tell the college why you're a perfect fit for them or why you're a perfect fit here. Whenever college admissions officers are really looking at these applications, etc., they're trying to determine which student would be the perfect fit for this environment, would be a perfect fit for that particular classroom, that particular subject, and your college application just gives you a chance to actually go ahead and prove that. I would say start writing your college applications as early as possible. So whenever you do get whenever you're able to see the questions which come out from the colleges, try to start writing from them and keep rewriting your drafts, keep looking over them and checking, because trust me, it's a long process. Your first draft would never ideally be your final one, because you realize over the time frame that there's so many things that could have been corrected. Preferably have some of your family. So if you have a college counselor who is aiding you in this process, that's great. But even if you don't, that's completely fine as well. You can have your family and friends, etc., looking over your college application essay, trying to see whether it really puts out you as an individual and it really showcases who you as an individual are when you're talking about it. I would say be very strategic when you're writing your college essays as well. Show what is the best quality, etc., about you. And this doesn't have to be in the most direct ways, right? You don't need to say, I'm good at this, I'm good at this, I'm good at this. Let it come out in your essay. Let's show your USP that no other student has, right? Try to write about an experience that nobody else can relate to except for yourself. And also, if you have questions such as which are open when you can write whatever you want, I think the best thing is write about the subject of your choice. why it's going to get into, why going to that particular college will help you out so much more. So be very strategic with your college essays to understand what will put your best qualities and traits out over there without obviously boasting, etc. But yeah, I think that goes a really long way. For instance, like even when I wrote like my UC Berkeley essay, I mean UC's application essay, but it was catered towards UC Berkeley because of their biology plus business program. I wrote my last essay, which was like, you can write whatever you want. I wrote it about why I was so passionate about biology and business, etc. And so when I did get accepted into the college, I did have the program manager contact me because she liked my essay that much. So your essays do matter and they go a long way. Like my friend, she goes to Columbia, and because her biology and like her essay about her subject was so passionate and so good, she got direct admission into the integrated program, which she didn't even apply for. So they do matter, not just for your college application, but in some cases beyond that as well. So take that into account and factor that while you're writing your essays. But yeah, start as soon as you can. Time management is crucial over here as well. I'll pass it on to Dia.
Okay. So I personally think essays are the make or break of getting into college, right? Everyone has grades similar to yours. Everyone has activities similar to yours. So how do you show that you are a unique individual, right? You have to show the college that they need you in the college and it's not complete without you. So you have to show, I think a few things that you can demonstrate in your essays is passion, initiative, growth, like a growth mentality that you've learned and you've grown through an experience. So these are some things you can demonstrate in your essays, which colleges really like. I'd say start in the 12th grade itself. You don't need to start before that. Usually Common App releases its prompts during July. So I think that would be a good time to start. One thing that I would differ with Sanjana is that she said that she specified her UC applications last essay to UC Berkeley. Please do not do that. Some of the top colleges are really hard to get into and that just might backfire. So for your UC essays, which I think most of you will be applying, they're very important. There are 4 essays. Utilize all 4 to show different aspects of your personality and give the college a well-rounded, holistic view of your personality, is what I'd say. On to Raghav.
Yeah, I think once again, it has been summed up very beautifully by Dia and Sanjana. But the beauty of applying to US is it's not an answer key that decides whether you get in or not. It's an admissions officer. So you got to remember that there's a person on the other side of like the world who's looking at your application and is trying to find out what kind of a person you are. These colleges get tons of people who have like fantastic resumes, who've like done amazing internships and amazing research projects. But if you're not a good person fundamentally, I don't think they would want you on campus. I think what these colleges look for is not who you are right now, but who you would be 5 years after you graduate and what you would bring to the college with your career and through what you've done after graduating to college. So they look for qualities like like how much you're willing to learn, like your intellectual curiosity, where your passions lie, and how passionate are you about your hobbies, how like leadership, initiative, charity, those qualities are what they look for. And those do not show in your standardized scores or your test scores, right? They come out through your essays. So through these essays, they're trying to find out what kind of a person you are, and they try to look for these qualities that will help enrich their own communities at these top schools, right? Like these top schools have such collaborative communities full of these values, and they try to look for these values in their students, and these values come out in your essays. So I think essays are probably the most important part of your application. Like there are people with subpar scores who get in like top universities simply because fundamentally they are great people and they put themselves on the paper and they shock their admissions officer with the kind of values they have. So I think you got to spend a lot of time planning your essays or talking about things that really matter to you. I don't think you should try to put yourself out as someone you're not. Don't try to be someone you're not. Be yourself and talk about the things that actually matter to you and put that on paper, because you yourself are unique and you do not need to go out of your way to become unique, and you can just inspire the admissions officer by being yourself and just put in a lot of time for your essays. They will get you into colleges.
One thing just to clarify, when I was writing my UC applications, it's not directed to UC Berkeley, but UC Berkeley has a biology plus business program. So the last essay that we have where you can write anything, I wrote about my subjects and why I was so passionate about them, not just for UC Berkeley, but for all colleges. Since Berkeley's Bio plus Business program is the one that I was accepted into, the program manager reached out to me. So what I'm just saying is that write about what you're truly passionate about, and that really goes a long way.
Great. I think you guys have, in the last, and while you were answering this question, you have spoken about charity work and other stuff, right? And I think there's a lot of buzzword around profile building, to say so, right? And let's try and break that myth here and try and find out, could you guys tell me very specific to on individual level, what all have you done non-academically, right? Apart from your academics, what have you done to, let's say, improve your profile as such, right? And just be as candid and as open about what exactly have you done, because I think this is real concern, because a lot of parents see schools are taking care of the school grades 9th, 10th, 12th, right? But what happens to the profile building? And there's a lot of myth around this entire thing. So I would like you guys to answer it very personally, saying what have you done individually, and do you think what you should have done differently, right? And I will, let's say, start with Raghav.
Thank you, sir. So I think the trick here is to be not trick per se, but the thing you should keep in mind is to be as involved as possible. And I think Sanjana brought this up earlier. Colleges expect you to make most of what is there for you. You do not need to go out of your way to, work for some charity in like some underprivileged country. You just need to do the most with what you have. So be as involved as you can in school. Like all the schools these days have so many extracurricular activities. Just put your name up, and one of these activities will click. You will find that you have a passion for one of these activities, and it'll pick up, right? You do not need to have like one sport, one charity that you work for, one musical instrument that you play, one theater or debate or singing. It does not have to be that, right? You just need to tell these colleges that I'm really, really passionate. If it could be just one thing, and you're really, really passionate about that one thing, and why you're passionate about that one thing, and how you will bring your passion with you to that school, right? I think this whole concept of profile building, or like which extracurriculars will look good on my portfolio, is not really true, because if there is a certain mold that fits all colleges, then everyone would just follow that mold. I think what colleges look for is people who are genuinely passionate about what they want to do. Like there are so many people in 12th grade, like halfway through 12th grade, start a company, they create an app, they start an NGO, and colleges know that you're doing it just to get into that college, and they won't take you in, because at the end of the day, these people who are reading your applications are very, very qualified people, and they come across thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of applications per year, right? And they will sort of know what are the differentiating factors between someone who's genuinely doing something and someone who's doing it just to get into college. So the thing is, you have to find out what you're actually passionate about and be as involved as you can in that activity. It can be just one activity, because in the Common App, you have to put 10 activities, right? But they don't have to be 10 different activities. They can be 10 different undertakings you've taken in the same activity. Like, let's say you're passionate about, dance. Your first 5 activities can just be about dance, right? It can be like, you did this dance, you formed this club because of that dance, you conducted this event because of this dance event, you tutored students in dance, and it can be all about dance. But you're telling the college admissions officer that you're really passionate about dance and you're really good at it, and you're so involved in it, and you want to go to that college and you want to stay involved in it, and you want to teach people in that college dance. And it would tell the admissions officer that you're really passionate about dance, and that is why they should take you into the college, right?
Raghav,
so I think this
sorry, just to cut. Can you tell me very specific to what you have done, right? I would like to, for all of you, right, just give me specific example in terms of what have you done.
Yeah, so I played a lot of football, and although I wasn't like the best, I really liked playing football, and that is what I spoke about. Like I spoke about playing football, then I spoke about being a fan of a football club that I follow. Like one of my essays was just about being a fan of this football club, and how, although this football club isn't necessarily doing well at the moment, I still support them. And what it means to be a fan of a football club that has such a large history. So I just spoke about what I'm passionate about, right? I didn't, say that, oh, I did this, this, and this, and this. I just spoke about, hey, this is this one thing that I really like. and I like it because of this, and I want to continue liking it, and it's one of my passions. So this is me, right?
Until what level have you played football, Raga? I'm just trying to play a devil's
So
advocate.
I played only inter-school.
Inter-school, exactly, right? And I know which club you're talking about. I can see your watch and I can figure it out. So you're talking about
Yeah,
so
I'm an
that's
Arsenal
what
fan.
passion is
We're
about,
winning the
right?
FA Cup today.
Yeah. So I think that's what passion is about. So I think the reason why I asked this question, I know, what level Raghav has played, not to demean him. Sorry for that, Raghav. I just wanted to make sure that people are aware that it doesn't have to be an international player.
Yeah, you
right?
don't have to be an international player.
Right. So don't run behind something that you are not good at, or that's not your passion, because you will not be able to pursue it any further. Right. It's difficult to fake for a long time. Right.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So,
You can't fake it till you make it.
correct. So
It just
I
doesn't
think,
work.
yeah, I think let's move on to Sanjana. I think Sanjana, very specific to what you have done specifically. I know Sanjana has done a lot of other things, but let's see.
Yeah, so I would give a disclaimer by saying I was just a very active child. I didn't do anything specifically for college, simply because, I mean, even till 10th grade, I didn't even know I was going to apply to US colleges or anything. I just did things because I was passionate about it and I enjoyed doing it. And I would honestly give you guys the same recommendation. Please do things that you're just passionate about. Don't do it revolving around what you think the ideal candidate for college looks like, because there is no ideal candidate for college. The college application process is something that is very random. It depends on the college thinking whether you would be the perfect fit for their class, because they're looking out for a very balanced class of individuals. So sometimes if they already have individuals who are, say, overachievers, they may be looking for individuals who are not so achieving, or maybe people who are passionate about different areas, etc. So it's a very random process, and the ideal candidate does not exist. What colleges, they don't look for, say, particularly, leadership or initiative, etc. We can't name it per se, but just be active and try to pursue what you're passionate in. If you're passionate in, say, computer coding, etc., try to build up on that. And trust me, you can build leadership opportunities out of literally anything. So that shouldn't be a barrier or an issue for you at all. But if you're very passionate about computers, doesn't mean that you need to be equally involved in basketball or football to get into that particular university, right? It just means they just want to see how much you've learned, how you've grown, and how you will utilize that particular passion and further it in the college to add value to them, right? They're looking for what is your USP as opposed to everybody else. Because like Raghav mentioned, you would be with so many individuals who have phenomenal resumes, right? It's about what stands out for you. And so you could write an essay about literally anything, like he wrote about a football club, right? Just because he was passionate about it. And look where it landed him as well, right? He's going to a really good university. So please don't conform into what you think colleges want. They don't expect you also. They want you to do the maximum or best you can in the resources that you have. They don't expect you to go to different countries and serve the underprivileged, like he mentioned. They don't expect you to write like 15 research papers and do intensive research in a lab, etc. They expect you to be a kid and be good at it. Just be good at whatever resources that you have. So even when it comes to academics, with whatever you have with the textbooks, etc., be good at it. And you're uniquely you, and that stands for something already. So do not try to add on and force yourself to do a lot of unnecessary things. And don't lie on your college application. I think that's something people do. Please be genuine to who you are, because colleges can figure out. There are admission officers who've been in this process for years, right? If you try to lie your way in, trust me, that's not going to help you, A, in the long run, and B, you may not even get it because they will figure it out from the beginning. As to what I did, again, disclaimer, I'm a very active child, so I was like interested in a lot of things. So I was school captain, just like Raghav was, for NPS HSR. I was a school sports vice captain. I was basketball and football captain for girls. I did grade Trinity grade 7 keyboard, and I get my degree this year. I did Bharatnatyam for 8 years. I'm a Taekwondo black belt too. I have my own organization which is called Chakra, which works at promoting personal and menstrual hygiene amongst menstruators of all ages and backgrounds. Please check it out. Social media is at Chakra. And because of that, I am an Ashoka Young Changemaker. So I was named as one of the top 10 young changemakers in India. I was the youngest social entrepreneur to win an award at the Women Economic Forum. I've been doing community service since I was 7 years old, and so on and so forth. I'm just a very active kid, and trust me, I have zero regrets about it now when I'm looking back, because I literally did things that I just wanted to do. And even if it was in diverse areas and it seems like a lot, it's something that I enjoyed. And I look back at my years in high school and I love it. Like, I wouldn't have done anything differently. So don't force yourself to do anything. You just enjoy, because these years don't come back. Passing it on to Dia.
Yeah, just one point to add before Dia start. I mean, if you see whether it's black belt or whether it's Bharatanatyam on Trinity grade 7, I mean, we all know that she would have done this over a period of 8 to 10 years at least, right? So she has not done it in the last 2 years or 3 years just to make the profile. And I think that's the key component. If you're an active kid and if you can do 10 things, please go ahead and do it. But I'm sure you would have picked up your passion by now and then work on it, rather than start picking up the passion in grade 10. And even if you are, then don't think the final destiny is the college application. That's the reason you're doing it. I think do it because you're genuinely interested in it. Because of lack of time, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, no, I was saying I've been doing community service since I was 7 years old. So it's like
Correct.
Nothing was for college. Just
Correct.
build on what you have and what you're passionate about. It's just how much you learn and grow from it. That's it.
Yeah, I think I'll move to Dia, specifically to Dia, what you have done.
Okay, so I would say I'm a lot like Sanjana, right? I was passionate about basketball too. I was a house captain at NPS Indrannagar. I run 2 organizations. I dance a lot, and I've danced at an international level too. I have done a couple of public speaking events. But apart from that, I think not what I have done was important, but how I showed them that I'm willing to take action on my passion, right? So, I mean, even if I was passionate for dance, right? I had a passion for dance. I showed them that I love it so much that I'm willing to do something about it, right? So I'm willing to teach kids dance who don't have the resources to do so. I'm willing to lead a dance team at school or lead a dance team elsewhere. So you're supposed to show, I think, okay, not supposed to, you can show them initiative. I think that is very important. So they want to see that you're going to actually further your passion and not just leave it and just say I'm passionate about it, but I'm too lazy to do anything about it. So they want to see initiative. But apart from that, I think Raghav, Sanjana, and Sir covered all the other points. So yeah, don't bluff your way through your profile building. Do what you're actually passionate about.
Thanks, Dia. Thanks.
They will know if you lie. Don't lie.
Yes. I think that's really the key. I think we are done with the questions that we wanted to cover. I will open it for the Q&As. Parents, please feel free to put your questions on the chat. I already have a couple of questions. I will start taking these. Meanwhile, you can start putting out your messages. You can direct it to me privately, or you could send it to everyone. That's fine. I'll start with one question that I have. Sanjana, this is directed to you. The question says, I attended a UCLA information session, and they mentioned that if you reside outside of the US, even if you are a US citizen, you are still considered an international student. Does this mean that you fell under the international quota?
You consider, so when it comes to judging you based on your academics, etc., they recognize that you are from a different country, that you are from, for me, I'm from India. So when they're judging my, when they're judging my profile per se, they are looking at, they're judging me according to, in comparison to different Indian students as well. So whatever curriculum I went to, they're comparing me with other individuals who went to that same curriculum. So when it comes to that aspect of judging my profile and who I am, etc., I am considered in the international bracket. But when it comes to their percentage of diversity, I'm still considered a US citizen, and therefore, in terms for them, national. Right? So I'm considered national for their percentage, but when I'm judged as a profile or as an individual, I am judged as an international student. It may sound a little confusing, but that's exactly how it is.
Right.
No, so to put it in very simple words, I think in the applicant pool, you will be considered Indian, but for their quota, you will be considered an American citizen. That's it.
Yeah, that helps. If there's any further question to that, please drop in a message and we'll answer that. I'll take the next question, which says, okay, guys, I think we forgot this. We did talk about this. Can you guys mention your 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grades? Let's start from Raghav and let's be honest about it and just mention the final grades. Let's start with Raghav. Grade 9, 10th, 11th, 12th.
So ninth, I don't remember. I think it was a 9.9 CGPA out of 10. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But in 10th, I got 95.4. In 11th, I think I got somewhere between 89 and 91. I'm not sure. And then in my 12th, in my midterms, I got 93. My predicted was 98. And my final board marks was 96.
Great. Sanjana?
Yeah.
I don't remember my 9th grade marks either, but I think it was the same. It was around 9.9 to 10 CGPA. In 10th grade, I got 95%. In 11th grade, I was between 85 to 90%. Again, I'm not really sure. In my 12th grade board exams, I got 94.
How do you guys don't remember your scores? I can still tell you my 9, 10, 11, 12 grades. Let's move on to Diya.
So both of you spoke about marks, but I think from whatever I've spoken to my admissions officers, they don't look at the marks, they look at the grades, right? So I'd speak in terms of letter grades like A to D. So in the 9th and 10th, I had all A's. In the 11th, I had 3 A's, I had 1 C and 1 D in math. So my grades dipped significantly in the 11th grade, but in the 12th grade, again, I had all A's and a B in math. So I think it's okay to have a dip in grades, right? Just if you're in 9th and 10th, try your best not to have that dip, study really hard. If you're already in the 11th, and if that has happened, it's okay. You still have your essays, activities, standardized tests to back you up. So don't worry about it too much. Just give your best effort and it'll all work out.
Perfect examples of we have been through the dip. So don't worry, even if you had that dip in 11th grade. So first of all, do your best. Please don't try to make sure that you're studying from before and you don't face that dip that all of us did. But if you have come to that point and if you have got significantly lower grades in 11th, just know that that's all right and you don't need to panic. Just put in that much more effort when it comes to 12th grade academics, right? So whatever you couldn't do in 11th, say, okay, you know what, I'm going to make sure that my 12th grade grades, my midterms and my predictors are going to look that much better and therefore my board exam results as well. So don't panic, that's all.
Great, thanks. Let's move on to the next question. It says, this is from Divya. How do you understand the community culture and best fit for you at a college? It's not directed to anybody. Anyone who would like to answer this? Diya.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can go ahead.
So I think personally, this is really hard to judge because you'll never know till you actually go to the college, right? But a good way to have a good idea is by speaking to some seniors that speaking to even some random, you can just message them on any social media account if you have, just message some seniors, go to the websites, watch a lot of videos on YouTube. I think a lot of YouTube day in the life videos are really helpful. So do some of that research. I think that is the main way you'll know if you fit into a college. So for my college, it's very big on activism, right? And I'm very big on activism too. So that was a good fit for me versus someone else wouldn't feel comfortable in that position. So just see some college culture, speak to the students there. I think that's the best way you'll get an idea of how the college culture is.
Anybody else who wants to add anything? Sanjana, I guess, yeah.
Add on to that, I think firstly what Diya said was right. Please look at YouTube videos because there are a lot of day in the life as a UCLA student or just like a UCLA tour. I'm just saying for UCLA, but for any college per se. And that gives you a really big insight into what college looks like. See, for all of us, right? I don't know about the two of them, but for me at least, I wasn't able to physically go and visit any of the colleges that I got accepted to because of the whole coronavirus pandemic that took place. And so for me, a lot of my deciding relied on talking to seniors. Again, don't talk to just one person because their opinion can vary depending on their experience. I talked to 5 to 6 seniors just to understand what the college vibe looked like and whether I would fit in as an individual. Because so for me personally, I need a strong balance which is present between academics as well as social life. So when I was looking for colleges, even when I was committing to one, I needed to have that strong balance which was present between the college, within the college. But you may be somebody who is more either academically inclined or extracurricularly inclined. And so you may need a college that satisfies that particular demand of yours, right? Because the thing is, every individual thrives in a different setting. There is no one setting which is fixed for all. For instance, like me and Dia both got into UCLA and UC Berkeley, but I think I thrive more at UCLA and Dia thinks she'll thrive more at UC Berkeley, right? So every individual, this is a different environment that fits them. Talk to a lot of your college seniors, watch a lot of YouTube videos, read through their website like end to end, so understand what clubs they have, what activities they have. Like for instance, like in UCLA is also actually really big on activism, which is something that I really liked about them. And they were really about like women empowerment, business, etc. And so when I saw all of these clubs and I put it in comparison to some other colleges, I realized that this would be a better place for me. So just website, YouTube videos, and seniors are your like three big like ways that you can find out the college culture.
Right. Just to add here, when they say that go and start looking YouTube videos, especially for the students here, please don't start doing it right now. I think they did it after they got the acceptance, right? So don't start looking at Harvard and Stanford and MITs today and stop studying and start doing it because somebody in the webinar said we should start looking at life at specific college, right? So no, please do it after you got an acceptance from specific college and you've shortlisted 2 or 3, and then now you want to point it down to one specific college, then you start doing this research, but not, let's say, not now when you're 9th or 10th grade. Yeah. Okay. We have another question here. Were Sanjana and Dia offered the fee structure of US citizen or international student?
Okay, so we were offered the fee structure of a US citizen. Yeah, that's it. They consider us as a US citizen.
Just to be clear, because you see the public universities, in-state tuition is half. So because of that, we're considered out-of-state citizens, which is basically the same fee as an international student.
No, so for us, I think if you're in the college, they'll consider us living in the US, but not within the state. So for example, we're going to school in California. We're not considered residents of California. So we're offered the fee outside of California, but I think international students are charged a little more and we're not charged that slight extra. So we're considered, for example, if I'm going to California, I'll be paying the same as a student coming from Texas. So that's how it is.
So just to summarize, there are 3 categories to say so. The first one is if you are an in-state candidate, let's say if you are residing in California and attending college in California, that's the cheapest. Then if you are within US but outside California, then you will be paying X plus, let's say, Y. If you are outside US itself, then you are paying X plus Y plus Z. That's the difference probably, right? Great. Next question is joining to medical college in undergrad. What does it mean to become doctor in US? How long the course and what is the roadmap to become a doctor? I think name is not written, but I'll direct it to Dia directly.
Okay, so it's 4 years of a course you call pre-med. In these 4 years, by the way, disclaimer, you do not have to study biology. You can study any major, but you have to complete a few requirements for med school, which is usually 2 years of chem, 3 years of bio, 3 years of math. So just make sure you have these requirements completed, right? And then you apply to medical school after you finish your undergrad. There's a test called MCAT. You write that, and then you do 4 years of medical school after your undergrad. So it's pretty much your undergrad and postgrad situation. So it's 8 years in total. After your 8 years, they have this program called residency, which usually lasts 3 to 7 years. So you do that, but by that time, you're a full-time doctor. So it's 8 years to get your degree.
Yeah. Okay, somebody has asked and someone has already answered as well. We'll just take it up. Will Dia and Sanjana get in-state tuition fees after 1 year? Guys, do you have the answer? I know the answer is no. Do you guys have anything to add?
I think you have to be
California. Yeah, you have to be a tax-paying resident within that particular state to receive in-state tuition fees. As students who are a part of that university, we are not considered tax-paying residents like otherwise in the state of California.
Yeah, unless parents decide to move to California and start staying there and start paying their taxes, that's when they will come under the in-state quota. Yeah. Okay. Then the next question I have here is, which test is good for less proficient in English, SAT or ACT?
ACT is less proficient in English, actually speaking, than
First,
the
No, I wouldn't say that.
I would say
I think they're the same. They test the same syllabus. It's just the timings are different. So if
correct.
you
Yeah.
require a little more time to process the information, then you could take the SAT. But if you can think on your feet quite quickly, then you take the ACT.
Yeah, goes by really quickly, whereas SAT you have time to think. So I think that is one major difference between the two tests. But syllabus-wise, they're pretty much the same, except ACT has a science section,
Which is basically reading.
which is like reading. Yeah.
SAT is more analytical. So when you're looking at the English section over there, there's a whole passage, and then even in ACT there's a passage, but because the time goes quickly, they expect you to go through like the facts more than they actually expect you to sit and analyze the text as much as they do in SAT. So while it may not be say less or more proficient, I just found the ACT, like personally, ACT English was much easier than the SAT one was.
Yeah. I think anyways, I think when we floated the form, I think we said that we will be doing another session just about SAT, AST, subject SAT. So I think we can pass on that information there as well. The next question is, can good SAT subject scores substitute for poor scores in school in a particular grade? Very good question,
Yes.
I would say.
Yes. I would
It's a
say
very good question. I think it shows the admissions officer that for some reason you didn't do well in school. Probably because your teacher. So in 11th, the grading is internal, right? And a lot of people, they say that their teacher doesn't like them. That's why they didn't give them marks and stuff like that. But if you're able to take an AP or a subject SAT in the same subject that you didn't do well in school, it shows the admissions officer that you are proficient in that subject and you've been able to get a good score in that subject. So it helps you cover up a little poor grade in school.
Correct. Next, so basically it's a CATS to a CATS comparison, right? So both of them fall under academics category. So for one, you could always substitute with the other one, but that's the worst case scenario. Generally try and make sure your academics are as high as possible. Another question, I'm in an IB school, do AP make sense? So it depends.
No.
Say, for example, I'm not doing, say, history in my school, right? As a subject, or let's say I'm not doing comp science as a subject in my school, then I can take AP comp science separately just to make sure I'm showing that I'm going extra way more than what the other kids are doing. But please make sure not at the expense of your academics. And the other important criteria here is if you remember, I said AP happens once a year, which is in May, and that's exactly when the IB exams happen. For CBSE and ICSE grades, these exams are in Feb and March. So for them, May is still fine. But for IB kids, it's generally difficult to write an AP exam because that's exactly when their IB exams of grade 11th and 12th are also happening. But having said that, if you can do a subject, don't do a subject which you're already doing at school, do a subject which is an add-on. Yeah. Next question, is it fine if a student is not sure whether they want to study in India or US during the 10th grade? Oh, it's perfectly fine.
It's perfectly fine. Actually, a lot of my friends, they actually went for Alan or Akash or Fiji in 11th and decided to prepare for their SAT or ACT. And then in 12th grade, when they got a little more clarity, they just dropped out of one. So it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine.
That was my situation. That I was not sure if I was going to apply in 10th grade. In 11th grade, I made that decision and then it went on from there. Always helps to have clarity from before because then you can plan out better. But if you don't, that's also completely fine. Just look at the pros and cons. And I think the whole coronavirus pandemic, it requires you to really look at the pros and cons very carefully and judge the situation well. But yeah, it's completely fine.
Great. So somebody asked about, did you apply for FAFSA? And then, okay, so there is one of our parents who is really kind and he has just messaged me saying if parents have any questions on fees, they can seek help from Mr. Jain. I think both his sons are with ReWiser and one of them is, so he has already gone through the process with his elder son, who is right now studying in, sorry, I forgot the name, University of Wisconsin Medicine, if I'm not wrong. And he's doing comp science there and he's on crazy scholarship. So I think Jayant is the right guy to answer those queries. And I think he has thankfully said that if anybody has any questions regarding the fees structure, I think he can help out there and I can share the contact details or at least the email ID and you can drop him the mail for any question. Then there is some question saying, is the same application and admission process followed for law and or arts as well?
It depends on the school, honestly. For some colleges,
So you can no, because the law process is very similar to the medical process, wherein you do 4 years of undergrad in any subject that you want to, and then you apply for a test. Like for medicine, it's called the LSAT, and you write the LSAT, and according to your LSAT score and your internships, you get placed at a law school, and then you study law for how many other years you take to graduate.
Yeah, but for undergrad, usually you apply with the same application, but again, it's very school specific. So make sure you do research on the schools you're applying to, and make sure you don't mess up any requirements.
Like speaking about specific, some colleges require you for arts, for example, to send like in a portfolio when you're doing arts and architecture, etc. And so in cases like I know my friend is going to Rhode Island School of Design, and so they had to send it their whole portfolio, even for UIC for filmmaking, they have to submit it 1 month in advance to the actual college deadline, etc. So please look into the colleges in that perspective, because for example, in USC, if somebody doesn't match that cutoff deadline, but they don't send in their film application by that date, they're no longer considered even for the regular application. So like when it comes to arts, they can apply for something else, of course. So just look into the various things. I think law and medicine are similar, but for arts, you require a portfolio.
Yeah, portfolio is also one important thing. So I submitted a dance portfolio, and some of the colleges had an earlier deadlines for portfolios. So make sure you don't miss the deadline. Make sure you do your research well. Start doing your research maybe at the starting of 12th grade, so you don't miss any deadline.
Yeah, then the next question I have, do IB give an edge over? I would say no. We have the 3 panelists, and all 3 of them are from CBSE background. And they all have gone to the top colleges. So definitely there's no edge as such, but again, I would say people will have different opinion on this question always. I don't think there's anything right and wrong here.
No, I don't think there's an edge. I think it's just the metric they used to compare. You just be different, that's all.
I think one slight advantage of IB is that once you get into college, some colleges have conditions. Right. So for IB, they don't have conditions. For CBSE and ICSE, ISE, they do have conditions. So that is one advantage. In IB, you can even transfer your credits. You can't do that with CBSE. But to get in, there's no difference. This is after you get in.
So, like, honestly speaking, the IBs plan out in such a way that the whole curriculum, etc., that you have that time to write your college essays and applications. When we had to write our college applications, it was right in the middle of our exams. So like our unit tests, etc. So the timing is just a bit better in like IT schools. You can transfer credits once you get accepted. But again, it's what you do with the resources that you have. So IB or CBSE, personally, I don't think it really matters at all. It just makes sense that if you're doing 100% with whatever you have, whichever curriculum you're in.
That's right. So next is, I know we have extended the time drastically by 50%. So guys, are you available right now to take these questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
If the parents, if somebody wants to drop out, feel free to, please. I think we will still go ahead with the questions and take some. We'll try and extend the meeting timing here. Okay. Next question is, how much do board results matter for admission in universities abroad? A lot.
Yeah, a lot. I think like we do not have GPA and stuff, so I think the metric they use to judge us is our board marks, and because our board marks is the closest we have to a standardized form of testing, they use our board marks to compare students a lot. So board marks do matter a lot.
Yeah, but don't worry if you don't have board marks which are excellent. It's okay. Just do your best for your boards. They are important, but if you don't have them, don't panic. Focus on the rest of your application.
Yeah.
Constantly learning. So if you maybe didn't do so well in your 10th grade board exams, just try to put in that much X amount of effort so that your next board exam is like, or next exam first is better. Because like Raghav mentioned, it's kind of a standard metric that they have, because everybody who is in that for CBSE students example, like everybody in CBSE is giving that same exam. So they're able to compare where each student more or less stands in comparison to somebody else, because you can't get that same understanding from a school test. So I think like they matter like to quite a significant extent.
Yeah, but if there's a dip in 10th, try to focus a lot on your 11th marks and make it up kind of.
Please.
Colleges look for an upward trend. So as long as
Yeah.
you're improving bit by bit by bit, even if that improvement is as small, as long as you're showing improvement, colleges are happy.
Correct. That's right. We'll quickly take a few more questions. What's the difference between pre-med and 4-year bio major?
Okay, so this is a very common misconception. Pre-med is not a major. Okay, pre-med is the course. Bio is the major. So when I graduate from school, I will graduate with a biology degree. Pre-med just means that I will have to finish some requirements, which is certain years of chemistry, certain years of physics, certain years of math and bio, but it's not a major. So when you graduate, you will not have pre-med written anywhere. It will be either chemistry, bio, or whatever you choose to do.
Perfect. Next is okay, this is another question. Because UC has told that SAT is not required, and do I take the SAT? Will that make up for my grades in school? I will try and answer that question. Right, so UC has said that, which is right, which is very specific to this year, if you look at the notification. And please remember there are two terms here. One is test optional and other one is test blind. For example, UCLA has very specifically said they are going test blind for this year because of the pandemic. That means they are not going to look at the scores. They are not even going to ask you for the score in their application. Whereas other places have said they are going test optional. The moment they say test optional, that means if you have done the SAT or ACT, please submit your scores. And in case you have submitted it, they are going to consider it for the admissions. So I would say, please go ahead and do it and submit the scores if you have it. If you don't have it, don't panic at this stage, because if you don't have the date, then it's completely fine. But however, you could always do the ACT, because ACT just happened last 2 weeks, 2 weeks back. So I'm sure ACT will happen in the month of September again, right? And yes, they do, as we have already answered, they do make up for the grades in school in some way or the other. Next question is UK or US better in terms of courses offered for law? I think I will not take these questions. It's very, I would say, perspective-based question, and I'm sure everybody will have a very different opinion. Guys, do you have any specific answers based on your opinion for this?
Oh, yeah. So actually, I was planning on applying for law, right? So here's the thing. When you apply to the US intending to do law, you cannot start right away. You have to complete an undergraduate course of study in any subject that you want to, and then apply for law. So it's a much longer period of time before you actually start practicing. And then also the law they teach in US is different from the law that we practice in India. So you cannot come back to India and be an attorney here until and unless it's something like corporate law. Whereas if you study in the UK, you can finish your law degree in 3 years itself, and you can start practicing, and you can come back to India. And I think this is just a very small test that you need to write. And if you pass that test, you can be an attorney of law in India as well. So if you're planning on pursuing law and you're not sure where you want to settle down later on in life, I think UK is a better option. But if you're really hell-bent on practicing law in Chicago or New York or San Francisco, then you can go ahead and apply for law in the US.
Great. I think I would like to also thank Dheeraj here. I think he has answered a couple of questions.
That's my dad.
I think Diya's dad. So I think thanks Dheeraj. I think he has answered a couple of questions with regards to US citizenship, FAFSA application, I think scholarships and all of that. I will not take those. Next is Ritika said university ranking website. I think thanks Raghav has already said US News is one credible source which you can look at. Abhishek, another question. So predicted scores is not taken into account. No, predicted scores are taken into account. That's how you apply for your US college, because 12th grade scores you will not have. So you will have your predicted scores based on which you will apply. What's the best way to search for major of interest in university website?
Yeah, I think Raghav answered this question. You go on the website, they have an undergraduate section, and under that they have majors, and they have a description for each major too. So just go on the website, you'll be able to figure it out.
Oh yes,
yeah, I think the websites are very well designed and they're very user friendly. So the moment you reach the homepage, it will guide you through it all, and you can go from one end to the other very smoothly. It's a very streamlined process.
So much effort. Just put in your university name and say majors, and that website will automatically show up. So even if you don't want to go on the website per se and search for it, you just put UCLA majors, and you will get that automatic link which will take you to the majors. It's not an issue.
Great. I guess most of the questions are answered here. We'll wait for another minute or so and see if there are more questions coming in, and then we can answer those questions.
I think somebody asked me like right now, what is a dual degree? So like, should I just answer that?
Please go ahead.
So basically, a dual degree program is one which is like a joint major program, more or less, wherein you graduate with 2 degrees. So you would finish the requirements for both, for my case, like molecular and developmental biology, as well as business economics. So when I graduate, I would have a degree in both MCTB as well as business economics. So that's just the gist of a dual degree. In some cases, in some colleges, double major and dual degree mean 2 different things. That's something you should take into account. In some colleges, when you say double major, it means that even if you are doing both the, let's say, MCTB and business economics again, you would do less requirements of one particular major, and you would have one primary degree. So it would be written on your particular, like, graduation certificate or diploma. Sorry, it would be written that your primary degree is, say, MCDB, but you also finish the requirements for business economics. You wouldn't earn a separate degree in it. So in some colleges, both double major and dual degree mean different things. So just take that into account and check that out. But ideally, it means you will get 2 degrees when you graduate.
Yeah. Great. So guys, do you have any personal questions in your chat account? Just check once. If not, I don't have any now. Great. So good. I guess that's it. So I think I would like to thank all the 3 speakers for taking time. Thanks Raghav, thanks Sanjana, thanks Dia for taking 1.5 hours or probably more than that for this webinar. And I'm sure this webinar is useful for all the participants who have taken time on a weekend to spend on this. I'm sure it must be useful for them. We will, as I've said in the beginning, we will be hosting these again on 8th and 9th, the next weekend as well, where we will have different speakers who have gone to other colleges like MIT, UPenn, UIUC, and so on and so forth. Please feel free to join in again, and we will share the link again. We will again mail out the links to all the folks. Thanks everyone for attending this. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
All 3 kids were awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Interacting with everyone, and I guess they can reach out to any 3 of us at any point if they have questions about our colleges in specific as well.
Yeah.
Great. Great. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a ton. Bye bye. Have a nice weekend.